Hey everybody, this is Danny Silva with D Silva Designs, and today I'm going to be doing a pinup sketch. This was done in Manga Studio 5 EX on a Wacom Cintiq Companion 2. So that's the software and the device that I'm using. So I'm obviously using pressure sensitivity and things like that. So to start, I typically approach digital sketching the same way that I approach regular sketching. It helps keep things simple for me. I tend to overanalyze things a lot, and sometimes if digital is something that I don't do very often. I mean, I practice in it like I'm doing here, but it's not, I prefer traditional medium. And so a lot of times there's so many tools, a lot of times when you give me too many choices, I tend to overthink things and question the way I do it. And you'll notice it if you watch my videos enough, especially when you're looking at my digital stuff, is I'll do one thing several times in different ways just because I want to see what looks the best. A lot of artists do that, but it can tend to, especially when you're just doing a warm-up sketch and something that you're not supposed to be spending a lot of time on, it can bog you down a little bit, at least for myself. So to keep it simple, I try to just mimic the things that I do normally, and if I want to add to them later, I will. So for the background, the paper, I just use a regular tan tone paper, which is something that I sketch in normally anyway. I just scanned a high-resolution copy, and then I use that for the background instead of creating a tone. Seems a lot more difficult, I know, but I like the texture of the tan tone paper. And initially when I went on, I started with a blue line sketch. Basically I'm just using the rough pencil tool. You can pretty much use that standard. The only thing I mess with on the rough pencil is the density and also the texture. So if it seems like there's too much texture, then I'll kind of dial it back a little bit, and so on and so forth. So that's what I did there, and I just start off with the pencil, the blue line pencil, which is something that I use anyway. I use a coal erase pencil, and then once I get the initial shapes done, then I'll go ahead and refine the sketch with the regular pencil, a little bit darker. And now I am using the inking tool. This is the G pen. Standard settings, I don't really mess with those. I think I may have played with the stabilization when I first got the program, but I honestly don't know what the settings are. I just kind of messed with it until if there's too much stabilization, it will slow down the cursor speed. So I think I found a good medium point where it doesn't slow down the cursor, but it's, it mimics inking. So that's what works for me. If you're doing, a more refined sketch or some professional work, you might want to have the stabilization up, but then you're going to ink slower. So since this is just a warm-up sketch, I don't really care. I'm just kind of getting or wiping away the fog from the morning so that way I can get into my commission work. Another thing that I like about Manga Studio is, or I should say one of the things I like about Manga Studio, the reason why I prefer sketching, I prefer painting in Photoshop. Sketching, though, I prefer Manga Studio, just because the pencil settings are already done, and the ink settings, the ink tool mimics traditional inks very well. So I don't know, it just feels more natural, and I love the fact that you can just hit the R button to rotate on your keyboard, and you can rotate the canvas any way you want, which helps the sketching process go very fast. So again, a lot of times when I'm doing my sketches, my initial concepts or whatever layouts, and I'm just kind of playing around with ideas, I will sketch it out here, and then if anything, I'll transfer it over to Photoshop if it's something that I'm going to want to finish later. Alright, so I'm just kind of going in and doing some inky type stuff, adding the shading. Yeah, so I like to do this type of stuff just in the morning when I first get up. If it comes out okay, then I'll record it. But if it looks like garbage, then I'll just delete it. If it comes out okay, then maybe I'll edit it like I'm doing now, save the recording, just so you can see what I'm doing. And once I get my ink layer pretty much done, then I'll turn that into a multiply layer, or I guess you don't really have to, but it just depends on how you're working and how detailed you want to be, and what kind of layers you have going on. But I'll create another layer underneath, and that's where I'll start doing my tones and things like that. And what you're seeing here is I use some flat colors for the shorts and the thigh highs, and the reason why the shirt looks kind of weird is I'm using a half tone, and you'll see I'll add it all over. It's something extra that you can do with you can do them with all programs. With Manga Studio, it makes it very easy. There's a little setting right above your layers palette that it has a dot and then a little halftone matrix. Basically, you just click a button, and the halftone it'll get darker and lighter, or there will be more dots or less dots, depending on how dark your color is that you've chosen. So it'll be just basically black and white dots. Excuse me. But it just acts like a shading, a different shading technique. It's something extra to add, to try. I like to play with all the different tools and try different stuff at different times. So that's what I did with the halftone. I basically did her shirt in halftone, and then added some shading to her legs and around the thigh highs, and then I believe the pants. I may have added that later. Right here I'm playing around with the colors. I wanted to add some blush to the nose and the cheeks and things like that. A lot of times when I'm doing pinup sketches or girls or anything like that, it's good to add some pinks in various areas. Not a huge amount, just depends on the look you're going for, but I'll kind of add just a little bit all over the place. Hands and kneecaps and any place where there's joints, things like that. The nose, where there's a lot of blood vessels, and so on and so forth. And since I'm using the tan tone paper, I decided to just go with, I usually use a lot of white in the background. So even though the paper is all one tone and that's what's contributing to the color of the skin, if you add a background, it can make it feel less, I guess, toned. Make it feel less like it's all the same tone, I guess. So I believe I used either the watercolor or the oil paint. It's probably the watercolor brush to do this, and just added some white, then a little bit of blue here and there. And then add the tiny little highlights. And then now I wanted the edges of the background to be a little scuffed up, so I just used the pen tool to try to cut away at it. And that is pretty much it. New layer, sign it, and call it a day. So I just want to say thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.